Hey everyone, Kurt Yaz here, and on this NFL channel, we're going to be talking about the Broncos and the Raiders game, as well as Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, and how things kind of went through that game and what happened. So, the best way to kind of put this together, I think, is to really look at the box score briefly, and then let's talk about some of the news that's come out about Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing, right? Broncos are 3-7 at this point. They're probably the biggest disappointment of the season. But what are you gonna do? I mean, it's a new system, a new coach, a new quarterback. You pretty much swapped out the entire transmission and axle of the car, and you're expecting it to run at all paces right off the bat. And there are high expectations, but let's be realistic. The Raiders, I don't know why people are giving praise for Josh McDaniels. Personally, I'm not a fan. His coaching record is not there. But anyways, that's something I digress on. So Derek Carr clearly has a better performance than Russell Wilson. And to be fair, Derek Carr has gone through a lot of turmoil and change in terms of head coaches, organizational just distress. You got to give credit to Derek Carr. Russell Wilson obviously going through a lot of change as well. New city, new life in terms of moving his whole family, his home, and just getting used to that higher altitude, different culture and world in Broncos country. So, what's the deal here? Well, there's a lot going on, and I think one of the best articles that's come out recently, or one of the most intriguing, I should say, is this article that was out on the Broncos Wire talking about how Russell Wilson and the Broncos with Nathaniel Hackett's offense would be actually 8-1 if they had just been able to score on average 18 points per game in their first 10 weeks of the season. And that's pretty remarkable, right? When you think about it, because 18 points per game is really not that many points. But as a Seahawks fan, as someone who's been a diehard Seahawks fan for many years, and a Russell Wilson fan, I have known and am very familiar to the actual pain of what happens when you're in a Russell Wilson offense. And it's becoming more and more apparent, it seems, that the reality is it's always a close game. It's never over with this guy and how he operates. He wants it to be close. I will make a couple notes here on the game on Sunday. He had some good moments of shining performance. I don't think he's physically washed. There's something going on mentally, though, when you think about it, right? He's not quite calling the right audibles, getting on the same page with his receivers. And again, part of that is new system, new team, new teammates, new coach. But part of it, too, is just he just seems out of funk. And we've seen that with the stats this entire year. Russell Wilson, compared to last year, if you look at the numbers, it's pretty remarkable how different he's playing this season over last season. In fact, 2021, Russell Wilson had 25 touchdowns. We're effectively through halfway through this season, and he's got 7. He's basically pacing to do about half of the touchdown passes he had last season. If you look at the number of interceptions he's thrown, he's already on pace to basically bust what he had last year. And then his passer rating, right? He's sitting just above 83 versus well over 100 where he was with Seattle for many, many years. So it's kind of wild to think about it, but the reality is I just don't see this season necessarily turning around. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe next season will be better. It does seem like the Broncos are pretty tied to him. If you look at his contract, he's got $165 million guaranteed through 2028. That is just bonkers in terms of having such a guaranteed amount of money in a contract without ever even having to perform for the organization. And so, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Comment below on the actual channel. I'd be curious to think what your thoughts are. I love these dialogues. Obviously, I've got both his jerseys, the gray and the green, and the blue. And so I've been a big long-term fan for a long time, but this year definitely not the same. I think the Broncos, it's tough to say. I really don't know what to think of them in terms of how it all shakes out. I think ultimately And there's no real way around this or out of this, right? You're stuck with your quarterback for the foreseeable future. So in terms of that being a variable that you might want to change, it's kind of tough. And in terms of the actual coaching, do you fire Nathaniel Hackett? I think people want to, but at the same time, it just seems like it's a little premature. And he's coming from a system where just 1 year ago, he had an MVP quarterback he was the offensive coordinator for. So, Aaron Rodgers certainly played really well under him. And if you look at him now that he's gone from Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing that good. So, is that Aaron Rodgers just kind of hit a wall? That's another debate for another discussion, another video. But I think with this, some of the big takeaways from the game itself, towards the end of the game, there were some mental errors that Wilson made, right? Like at the end, one of the last plays, instead of actually just going down with the ball to eat up another 20, 30 seconds on the clock, he throws the ball out, kills the clock, gives the Raiders enough time to come back and actually tie the game up to kick it into overtime. That was a huge fundamental mistake by Wilson. It didn't necessarily turn the game, but it didn't give them the Broncos. It could have given the Broncos a much better chance of winning. And so I think most people would say that this has been kind of one of the biggest heists in terms of Seattle coming away with this trade. But on the flip side, I think Denver has some opportunity here, some light, and it is a new sort of situation. And I do think that you really can't go down from here. So at this point, you're kind of moving around, and you're going to have to go up. But the season does get more difficult. You are playing some strong teams. You got the Chiefs coming up. So there you have it. Broncos, Raiders, Russell Wilson, some of the statistics around what's going on. It's tough to say. But thanks for watching the video. If you like this content, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and engage and let me know what you think. And I will see you all on the next one. Thanks a lot.